Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish. And the pancake diet is basically a diet for your mind, for your behavior, for your thoughts, for your desires, so that you can flip these things and have them become the things that you want, the actual outcome that you want. But I find that sometimes we need a recipe for disruption because the things that we're doing aren't getting us to the place that we want to go. And what do? We put it on repeat. Have you noticed that? And you're thinking to yourself, why do I keep doing it? Why is this happening? Well, it's time to go on a pancake diet. So here's how to lose the grumbling, the complaining, and the frustration of not getting to the place that you want, because maybe you need to go on the pancake diet. All right, you ready for it? It's a recipe, so be ready to write it down. You need to flip 1/3 of your thoughts, flip 1/3 of your behaviors, and flip 1/3 of your desires. Got it? 1/3. And I'll show you how to do this, because then you got to mix it all together, and then you pour it out onto a super hot, on fire brain. Got it? And then you flip it when it's ready. Right? Sounds like a good pancake to me. So here's some ideas behind that whole thing. I was thinking about this too, because I found myself saying something that I hadn't said in a very long time. And I thought, okay, what's going on here? What am I thinking about? This is the wrong track. And I flipped the behavior, and anyway, this is the whole thing. And it is I call it the pancake diet because when your pancake's just ready, I'm sorry for anybody that's triggering, but when your pancake is just ready and you see those little bubbles, time to flip it over. Well, you have to wait till it's ready to flip over. Otherwise, it gets all wobbly and weird. So you need to do it at the right time. And so this is why you've got to have this important recipe, because it involves always your thoughts, your behaviors, and also what's covering all of that? Your desires. How about that? Your desires. So here are some of the thoughts. Here's a thought. Oh, I hate my job. You ever said that? I hate my job. What happens when you say on repeat, I hate my job, I hate my job, I hate my job? Have you noticed that everything about your job just annoys the living daylights out of you? The people that you work with, the emails that you get, the tasks ahead of you that you have to do. When you hate your job and you're verbalizing that you hate your job, your reticular activating system is going into overdrive to make sure that there is not one thing that you see in that job that can bless you. It's going to make your experience and your day-to-day just awful. Isn't it true? Because our brains seek out the things that we talk about. So instead, if we're going to put it on a pancake diet and flip it, let's say, I'm grateful that this job provides me with a healthy paycheck so I can take care of my bills. So that, whatever it is, whatever the benefits of that job are, that it's a privilege, that it's an opportunity. I am thankful that I have this job because I know so many people who don't have work right now. Whatever it is that you need to flip in order to get out of this old thing that is not serving you, bringing you down, and causing you even more angst and anxiety and depression and all the rest of it. Because when you ever start a sentence with I hate, somehow or another we find more to hate, don't we? It gets a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. Hate's like that. It's oftentimes fear-based. It's, if you despise it so much, then maybe it's time to look for something new. But in the meantime, flip it so that you can feel better about what's going on and say, I'm grateful for what it provides. You can change your feelings about things by modifying the way you speak about things. What is that? Isn't that so cool? That's what it is. This is a huge thing. That's the disruptor, is changing your language around it, especially the things that we pronounce. And when I say pronounce, I'm saying when we speak it out loud. When we speak it out loud, we are telling ourselves, telling anybody around, telling God, telling the universe, telling every single living thing around us what we're all about. I hate my job. I hate my job is something that is just, and that's such a core thing that you do. It's such a terrible thing to bring on, because then it goes around and collects a whole bunch of more garbage that you just don't want. Maybe there's just something, one little thing you don't like about your job, or a couple of things that you don't like, or some things that you would like to change. Well, if that's the case, then start to flip it with the language to support what it is that you want. Doesn't that make so much more sense? Because when we are constantly pronouncing all the things that we don't like, or things that bother us, or whatever, suddenly our whole world is full of that kind of stuff. Have you noticed that? It's because our brains are searching for it. You know, it's like you've put your brain on a scavenger hunt. Go find all the ugly things in the world, you know, instead of having the gratitude that you want, instead of living out of the integrity of really who you are. Because remember, your true self is fearfully and wonderfully made. Your true self is vibrant. You can't be vibrant when you're walking around, I hate, I hate, I hate. So the thought is, I hate. The disruption is, and the flip is, I love that my job provides this healthy paycheck that helps my family, or whatever it is that you want. Okay, there you go. Then we got to talk about behavior, right? Oh, doesn't the behavior come into it? Because we can't just talk ourselves into anything. We can't talk ourselves into getting fit, for example. There's got to be some behavior to go around. You can talk a blue streak, but it's not going to do anything until you do something. You know, our talk and no walk, no nada, nothing. So if you're, but if you also have some destructive behavior that needs to be changed, something that's just kind of a knee-jerk reaction, like, oh, look, Netflix is on, where are the chips? Netflix is on, turn on the popcorn. Then you got to disrupt that behavior. And what is the flip on this one? The flip on this one is that you got to relabel what you consider to be acceptable. So I have a couple of coaching clients that I have doing this, who I've told to go get some sticky notes, because they have food in their house that they don't control because the spouse and the kids want it, right? It happens. So what do? So you take your little sticky notes and you put something on that sticky note to remind you why that's not something that's for you. So if you have a health condition, you put a health condition on here, because then that's going to remind you that's just not for me, because I've got this thing that I'm dealing with. If you have weight that you want to lose, or a size that you're going for, I have a gal who's going for a pair of jeans that she has in her closet from last summer that are a size 6. So she put size 6 on hers and put sticky notes all over her pantry on the Chips Ahoy, the potato chips, and everything else that she had, because to deter her from doing this. This is how we flip the behavior. This is how we remind ourselves of what our goals are and what our visions are for ourselves. Because it's in the long run, it's the consistency of doing things right and not saying just this once. And these little reminders are a behavior switch, because it's going to remind you, no, that's not in your, that shouldn't be in your peripheral, because that's not what your vision's about. Your vision for yourself is, you know, absolutely vibrant. And vibrancy and potato chips don't go hand in hand. Have you ever seen that? Have you ever noticed that? She who eats potato chips is she who's not going to be getting the vibrancy that she wants. We have to disconnect from the stuff that holds us hostage. So you're literally relabeling these things that have before and stumbling blocks and now remind you of the behavior that you do want to implement. Avoidance. It's that simple. So, and then it comes to desires. So one of the things that I have done, and this is personal, that has worked so well for me, and I'm going to invite you to try this behavior. It's a great pancake flip, because a lot of times when we're especially starting on a good healthy habit, there are times where it's a little tough and you're not liking it. You know, you're not digging the idea of getting up at darko 30 and going out and exercising or drinking all that water and going to the bathroom all day or whatever. And I remember saying, I don't like drinking all that water, because I was a water drinker, but I wasn't as intense a water drinker as I needed to be, which you'll find out about the hydration webinar on Monday, by the way. Don't forget, savingdinner.com/station. And I changed that behavior. I flipped that pancake over big time when I just started saying, well, first of all, I set my alarm on my phone every hour to go off, and I drank it throughout the day instead of piling it on all at the very end of the day and then getting up all night. But the other thing that really worked for me is I started saying, I'm thirsty. Now, here's the thing. Remember what I just was talking to you about? I hate my job, how your thoughts or whatever. Well, this is a desire. It was for me, my desire was to not have to drink all that wine. I didn't want to do it. But I wanted to flip that desire to wanting to do it. So I told my body to do it. I am thirsty. Now, was I thirsty at that time? No, I was not. But after a while, every time the alarm goes off, I would say to myself, oh, good, I'm thirsty. And then I'd go up the stairs or down the stairs. This is when I lived over in the other place. Now I'm, walking out to our little kitchenette here downstairs. And I'd go grab my water and 5 glug, 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 down the hatch. And the water's gone at the end of the day. Who knew? But it also made me desire that water. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? This is what putting yourself on a pancake diet does when you start to flip all of that stuff. Do you see how this is so great? But, the other thing that we have to look at is that the pancake diet is very decision dependent, because it requires magic sprinkles. And do you know what the magic sprinkles are? Well, you got to make them. And the magic sprinkles are made with motivation and momentum to get the magic. And you all know what I'm talking about if you've hung out with me for any period of time, because the magic comes when you have the motivation to do it and you just push yourself and you just say, all right, I'm motivated to do it because I want the result. And then you do the work that it needs to. And then when you start to do it, you start to notice, just like that domino going down, it's a matter of physics. Momentum begins to happen. And then suddenly the magic appears. And we can sprinkle this pancake diet with lots of these magic sprinkles when we utilize motivation and momentum together. It's pretty amazing what happens there. Now, we want to serve these pancakes with all their magic sprinkles on top with a side some serving suggestions. And I suggest a little moxie, a little motivation of always, and I suggest that a little chutzpah. And a little getting over yourself. We need a little side suggestions on all of this, and we don't need to think so hard on all of this. What we just need to do is get out of our way and just recognize that all of these little tactics work when we decide that they're going to work for us. It's all about the decision-making process. And every time we make these kind of choices for ourselves, we're implementing the magic formula of motivation, momentum, and magic. It's a matter, though, of getting some of these thoughts flipped, these behaviors flipped, these desires flipped, so that we can put everything in a row and get this thing working on our behalf. That's how we get through doing all these challenges. That's how we get through to this place of really having a good sprint and not falling off it, the wagon, the second day or the third day. And I hate the word falling off the wagon, but I don't know what else to say. Or maybe driving through the drive-through, I don't know. But that's how it works. And this is the way that we utilize all these tools at our disposal, understanding that when we have control of our brains, we have control of our output. We get control over what's going on in our environment. We set our environments up for success as best we can. We make it as easy as we can, and we keep the reminders in place to show us that we are worthy of these lofty goals that we have. We are worthy of having that vibrant vision for our lives, and we are worthy of having the vibrant life that we want to lead. And we do it in bits and spurts, and we keep going. Because what do we know? Wise women never quit on themselves. Absolutely never, ever, ever. And when we can do this, and we can do it in community like we do here on the Hot Melt Sprint, and we can do it in community, cheering each other on with the encouragement and the support of others, we've pretty much got a good formula. What do you think? You ready to cook up some of your own pancakes that need flipping? I know I'm ready for the day. And I appreciate you showing up. I appreciate you sharing this. And I appreciate the fact that you're a part of my community. Thank you so much. Be the peace that you want to see in others. Deal? Peace be with you. Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.